I asked you in a community post if this makeover should be light and bright or dark and moody. The majority of you chose dark and moody. So today we're going to do a dark and moody makeover with a twist. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Whenever I'm feeling low on inspiration or just like a little burned out, I have a few places that I turn to get the creativity flowing again. My favorite place is the show Downton Abbey. It's like my secret weapon for inspiration. On the show, the family changes their outfits like thousands of times, and the fashion is like nothing I've ever seen before on TV. From the fabrics, the patterns, the textures, the colors, everything is just stunning. So today is gonna be episode 1 in a new series I'm calling Downton Abbey Inspired Furniture Makeovers. Today's inspiration comes from Old Lady Grantham, or Violet Crawley, also known as the Dowager Countess of something. Who is she? The Dowager Countess of Grantham. She can be seen wearing this dress in the afternoon hours a couple of times on the entire series. The dress would not be appropriate for like formal wear or dinner time. It's perfect for tea and luncheon. The women of Downton Abbey would never be caught dead without their hats on when they're going to visit friends for tea or lunch. Now, using this outfit doesn't mean I'm gonna copy it. There's no copying here. I'm just gonna pull some elements from it, or, you know, the way it makes me feel. I'm gonna interpret it onto my piece. I love the color of that feather on her hat, and I love the design pattern in the front, and I also love all the blues. So let's flip it Downton Abbey style. Whenever I'm cleaning my piece, I'm always looking for repairs, and I see there's a big gap between the bottom of the drawer. So when I'm done cleaning the piece, I flip it over and I notice that the drawer slide is not attached properly. They added this really long finishing nail, and when they put it in, they put it on a curve, so it's not even like attached to anything. So I removed their finishing nails and I added my own. These ones are probably half the size. I just pop them in on each side. There's already wood glue on this, so I'm not going to add any more. I'm just going to make sure that I have these finishing nails in the right way. And no more gap. Then I finish up cleaning the piece, and I'm using Dixie Belle's White Lightning Cleaner, which has some TSP in it. I'm using a nylon wire scrub because there's a lot of grime in all these creases. And then for the top, now you can see this is a really deep gouge. There's one on the other side too. It almost looks like somebody put their old television on it, like before you could hang it on the wall, and it was probably really heavy. So when they moved it, they made these marks. Ask me how I know this. This actually happened with my dresser a really long time ago. So I really don't have the option here to sand it. If I had sanded it, I would have went through that veneer because those gouges were so deep. So I just filled it with some Dixie Belle mud. And I went around and I just filled any nicks or scratches with the Dixie Belle mud. And then once it dries, I come back and I sand it flush. It could be kind of tricky when you're sanding the Dixie Belle mud. If it sinks, you might want to add some more, wait till it dries. You know, you just have to eyeball it. And then these beautiful pulls, one is totally broke. So I decided I was going to keep them for another project, and I ordered some new ones. Now our colors are going to be these 3 blues from Dixie Belle in the chalk mineral paint line. I chose the chalk mineral paint line because I want to do a really soft blend. And the colors are so close to each other that the blend, it's not going to be really difficult to do. So this far, I've only used two of the colors. It is in the navy and Yankee blue. They're really close, but the Yankee blue is a little bit brighter, so it's gonna give that highlight in the middle. And you don't have to go super, like, you don't have to have two really contrasting colors to make a big effect. This is gonna make a huge impact on the way the piece looks. And the colors are pretty close, and it's not super hard to do. And it's going to give me that glowing effect with the two colors that I believe when you look at old lady Grantham's hat, there's that glowing blue. So I think with these two colors blended, that's where we're going to get that glowing color. It's almost like electric. Now for the drawer fronts, I'm going to use all three of the colors. That's the only place that I use the dusty blue. So it's going to be on the outer edges, in the navy, and then we're going to go into Yankee blue, and then we're going to have the dusty blue in the center. And this is still only my first coat. I always add 2 coats, but I am blending pretty much the same way I'm going to blend on that second coat. So I'm using 3 brushes for the 3 different colors, and then I'm using 1 dry brush. I kind of mix all the colors together, and then I use that dry brush to blend them. And I'll go in all different directions with the dry brush. Now, after the second coat dries, I'm going to add this silkscreen stencil called Delicate Lace onto that center piece. I really, really love these silkscreen stencils. I do wish they came a little bit longer, but they don't, so we work with it. I've used this in this project. I use it, I think it's like 12 times, but all together I've used this stencil 18 times when I'm finished with this project, because I did use it on another project before, and it still sticks. So these are, I think you're supposed to only get about 10 uses out of them, and then you need to buy a new one, but I got 18 and it's still sticky in the back. So I think it just depends on how you take care of it. So I'm using this little thingamajig, that's literally what it's called, to apply the paint. And I do this because I feel like I can really get it in every hole, like every spot. I've used a brush with these stencils and I ended up missing a few spots. So I do think the thingamajig works really, really good. And look at that. When I'm done using the stencil, I rinse it. I rinse the paint off right away, and then I leave it sticky side up to dry. And I think that's why I've gotten so many uses out of it. It only takes about 10 minutes to dry, and then the paint on the piece is dry, so then I can just line up the stencil, and it's a repeating pattern. So I just carefully line the stencil up. And then it sticks back down and I can go ahead. And I do this on all 3 of the drawer fronts. Now on this one, I had a little bit of bleed through right there, but I was gonna kind of go crazy about it, and I didn't. I decided to be less of a perfectionist and more of an artist. When you zoom out, it looks beautiful, so I have to kind of, stop obsessing about the small, minor imperfections. And for me, that's one of the hardest lessons I've learned painting furniture. There are going to be things that, unless you're going to redo the whole entire piece, they're not going to be perfect every time. You can get really close, but some things you just have to let go. And that's really hard, for me at least. Now for the top, I decided to just go solid in the navy, which is the darkest color. I was gonna add a lot of black, maybe a glaze, but I decided less is more. And adding the clear coat in satin gives it that electricity. It just makes it shine so much, not too much, not like it's a high gloss or anything, but it gives it this special high-end look. It's just really beautiful. So I do 4 coats on the top and then 3 coats on the body. And I did end up buying the new hardware. I'll use the old hardware for another piece. But I wanted to show you this because sometimes when hardware comes, it's always the wrong size. So I order these little kits on Amazon and then I keep what they give me and I pick the right size. It just makes my life so much easier. I don't have to be cutting any of these or trying to find one. It keeps me very organized and I can just put in the new hardware that fits and be on my way. Now here's a reminder of what we had when we started, and then here is our inspiration from Downton Abbey, and then here's the finished piece. I feel like the 3 colors were so close, but once you blend them together, they're not close. Like, they make a huge impact on the piece. And please let me know what you think about this. Do you think this was a good idea or maybe not to do the Downton Abbey inspired furniture makeovers? And do you think that I represented Old Lady Grantham's dress? Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.